Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I'm Thomas Le Hoang, and you're listening to the TL podcast, where knowledge is shared and no one takes themselves too seriously.
Hi guys, how you going?
Awesome.
Hey.
Welcome back. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Shit to see you all.
First one.
2022, here we come.
Horrible to see you all.
You shouldn't have expected anything else to come out of your mouth.
Well, someone made an effort this week, Lou. It's about time, I was going to say, but you didn't tell anyone. You didn't tell TL to do his hair this week, like yourself.
I don't know what he's talking about. This is my everyday.
Oh, yeah. I just rolled out of bed like this. No, seriously.
Keep selling it. Keep selling it.
5 o'clock on Thursday. Like, we work.
Someone's been putting some effort in. We won't stand for that on this podcast. People putting effort into their appearance. We're not having that. This is
But he's trying to say that you look great, Louis.
Thank you. Thanks, Cam.
you look fabulous.
In a canned
Lou.
sort of way.
Hey, no mirrors in your joint.
All right, so let's start. Let's start the year with the wine, right? So no competition for the moment.
No competition.
So let's start with Lou.
Okay. So today I have a Taylor's Master Stroke 2019 Cab Sav.
Yeah,
Thanks
probably
to
a 3.7.
No competition.
No.
Look, it came in a nice fancy box, and I was actually given it for a birthday. My son-in-law gave it to me for a birthday present.
You didn't even pay for it. Oh, shit.
It's no competition, Cam.
You put the money into your hair.
My God. I think you guys are just all losing yours and you're a bit jealous, huh? I don't know. What's
I'm
going
not
on?
losing Jack, man. I'm not losing a bloody thing. Hey?
Oh,
Don't
you're
start that.
well, I noticed
Don't start those rumours.
Cam's beard's a bit light, though, these days. I don't know.
What is it, Lou? Let's be serious now. It's a Shiraz?
No, it's a Cab Sav 2019. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm quite excited about it. Looks,
Yeah, should be nice.
yeah.
How about you, Cam? Like a special wine for to start the year?
You bring out the big ones.
So I'm in lockdown. Both my children have COVID.
Listen to these.
And
Ready.
we did not come prepared. So the best. There's two problems. One, I wasn't prepared for lockdown, and two, I had a really big Christmas, right? So there's not a lot left in the Wilson household of any substance.
Yeah.
So, but someone, probably Lou, gifted us a bottle of 2019 Shiraz from Tempest 2. It is Hunter Valley, so it is probably going to be okay. And Thomas, yes, this was a 3.7 on Vivino. I didn't know we weren't competing, and yesterday I rang 4 people to go to a bottle shop for me, and to those 4 people, get fucked. They all said, you all know who you are, right? After everything I've done for you, I'm trapped in a house with a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old who apparently have COVID, running around like arcing morons. You wouldn't even go to the bottle shop for me. So we'll talk about what we learned from 2021 later, but it's a good point that everyone's in it for themselves, isn't it? Hey? So we'll see how my 3.7 goes.
All right, let's go. Chris?
Mine rates are minus 32 on Vivino. No, it's a 2018 Hewitson Estate Budwood. It's called Budwood. It's from the Barossa Valley. It's just a cheap drink of wine. It's nothing spectacular.
You're starting to look like Ian Hewitson, mate. You've had a big break as well.
It's I had to swap it out for the bottle that I was going to bring because I then found out it wasn't a competition, and that rated really well on Vivino. So
4.5.
So, Lou, yeah, I don't think we can hide from you. He's got a bottle of 4.5 there for the next time we compete.
We
So
have
you're
to
going
have
to
at least 4.6.
we're going to have a dig.
good luck in finding one, I'll tell you there.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in the Hunter Valley next weekend, aren't we? We'll put some effort in.
I put some effort. I've got a French bottle from Bourgogne, so south of France, in the middle, 2019 Petit Chablis, from a nice little house, Simone Febvre. Bourgogne wine, pretty strong, a little bit higher than Châteauneuf-du-Pape area. So Côte du Rhône, then just below the Champagne area. This probably would have won this week. Okay.
I didn't know they put so much information on the labels at Liquorland, mate.
So I'm not.
There's no way that beats a 4.5.
I'm not going to share your bottle, but I'm not going to share this bottle with you either.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
All right. So, Lou, what's this week?
This week, what we're going to talk about this week, guys, we're going to look at what are the takeaways from 2021 and what is going to make the best 2022 going forward. So it's going to be interesting, I'm sure, not just in business, but in personal lives as well. I think there's a lot of takeaways and there's a lot to look forward to.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I've done well here. Sorry.
That was two's a good drop, mate.
All right, so let's start first with the news. Since since the end of, what is it? Was it at the end of December? Was
It was
Yeah.
the end of December.
Yeah.
We made a prediction, TL. We were right. I said we'd be in lockdown by Christmas, and you and I definitely were. So once again, Wine and Wisdom bringing all the breaking news to the world. Get it here first.
No, I actually said that they will not lock us down. And Cam said, I bet you before the end of this week, they will lock us down.
I was driving out the driveway to go to the South Coast on Christmas Eve, and I got a phone call from a very reliable source saying I was a close contact of a bloke. So that locked us up for Christmas, and there was no trip to the South Coast. So I was right.
I would say that was me. That phone call. That's why I missed your lunch. Apparently, beautiful lunch.
So then a day after we get out of lockdown, they change the rules that say you're not a close contact unless you've pashed the bloke and had rampant wild orgy sex with him. So
I could have had close contact.
The other thing I learned over Christmas is that we should all join Hillsong because they can do whatever the fuck they want, apparently. So
that was a bit out of source, wasn't it? Seriously.
That was
what's doing there? I didn't. Is ScoMo Hillsong? I didn't think he was Hillsong. I know he's a born again, but is he Hillsong?
I believe he is, but I don't think he's sort of connecting himself during his term. So
What a bloke! Oh, he's not. He's not connecting himself, except they just managed to nothing to see here.
What I'm saying, he's not actively going and so forth because of that, because of his premiership.
So we missed. My kids missed the Christmas they were meant to have. We missed Chris's barbecue, which was either a blessing or a problem, depending on how you looked at it. There was 10 concerts I was supposed to go to last year. It was meant to be my bucket list of concerts, and we all went through that, not knowing that all we had to do was join Hillsong and we could do whatever we wanted. And just happens that the Prime Minister of the country, the same guy who ruined my kids' Christmas, right, is a member of that church. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
It's a bit wrong that they don't get fined. There was no fines. There was no penalties whatsoever. They hid behind the veil of, it wasn't a music festival. It was a church gathering, which are allowed, but still no social distancing, all that sort of stuff. Went into the night. There was live bands playing. So call it what you want. There's a bloody Christian musical festival. Simple.
But if you jump on the Service New South Wales website and dare suggest that Brad Hazard has COVID, it's now a $5,000 fine. Did you see that? People are putting in fake COVID positive COVID cases for the health minister, and he held a press conference to say that anyone who does it from now on will be caught. And when you're at the pub, what was his quote? He said, when you're at the pub telling your mates how funny you are, they're going to turn around and tell you how stupid you are. And anyone who does it from now on is a $5,000 fine. So I call on all of New South Wales to jump on the Service New South Wales website and put a positive case in for Brad Hazard. This is how we're starting off 2022. Thomas said be careful.
We'll fix the national deficit if we do that at least.
Hey?
we'll fix the national deficit if we do that, Elise. At least we'll pay that off.
Doesn't affect. Sorry, Lou, you go. Hey.
I was going to say, with that not reporting the rapid test results or whatever, not only do you get fined, but we had a staff member this week who didn't, I think he didn't report it or whatever, but if you don't report it, you don't qualify for that government assistance that's out there as well. So, you know, there's a catch both ways, you know, so just interesting to know.
Didn't Christmas prove to anyone that all the shit we've been through for the last 2 years was a complete and utter waste of time, and that all the so-called health advice that the government was basing their decisions on was nothing but a lie? Like, they changed the isolation time 3 times within a week. It was 7 days, and then 5 days, and then you're only a close contact if you're sitting on a bloke's lap for 4 months ago. 4 months ago, the army and the police would turn up to your house to make sure you were home, because you couldn't dare talk to anyone if you'd sniffed anywhere near somebody who had COVID. But what was the health advice? What was the real health advice while we were going through all that shit?
This time also, mate, a lot of people, because they've released us out, like there's no real, as we know, lockdown per se, it's spreading a lot quicker. So the supply of labour to industry, just in general, whatever industry it may be, is at a huge shortage. So that's affecting a lot of areas, whether it be shopping centres or hospitals or whatever it may be, transport, truck transport. And that's why they had to do that as far as the close contact with your family and so forth, because they couldn't staff the bloody hospitals to look after the people that were sick with COVID. And that's where this big issues come from. And that's what they were always scared of, is that the hospitals reaching that capacity and then not having the staff to look after those people.
Yeah.
So if they had done what they're doing now 2 years ago, where would we be now, do you think? Whereas let it rip.
With another strain, the Cameron strain. I don't know. I think with another variant, it'll change again.
Yeah. They can't start now, Chris. That's the problem now, because I walked up the main street the other day and we've got thousands of people here still on holidays, and every second business is closed with a sign on the door saying due to COVID or one of our members having COVID, we can't be here, you know, and it's really sad after the time that they've just struggled over that last 18 months to now.
I realised how bad it was. I come back from the South Coast, and the Friday, Rita and I, this is 2 weeks ago, we had to go to St. George Bank. We went to Miranda to St. George Bank, because my lovely wife had lost a card. So anyway, we had to go get her a new card. We went to Miranda. The branch was closed. Friday morning, 10:30, it was closed. Sign on the thing, sorry, we can't get staff to staff our branch. It's closed till further notice. So we went to the one at Menai, and the lady at Menai actually told us Bankstown, Padstow and Miranda branches today were all closed because of lack of staff, because of people out with COVID. So what they were doing is they were taking people out of one branch and putting them in another so they could actually open some of the branches. They were that understaffed. And we're talking about banks now.
Geez, I feel so bad for the banks. I mean, the profits they're going to lose over that time, and how are they going to afford to feed their families, the banks, if they've had to close a branch? I mean, it's a terrible time for them. I mean, if we've really got to feel for anyone during this time. No, you're right, Chris. It's very underestimated the pain the banks are going through at the moment. I think
not the banks. I'm talking about the staffing issues.
I think we all need to pause for a moment and just feel sorry for the banks that have closed their branches because of COVID.
You're finished now?
That was a moment. That was good.
You finished?
I think that in the end, both sides were, got their own reasons. Yeah, I think the government 2 years ago did not have the vaccine. And whatever happens, I think we would have had variant after variant anyway, the same way we've had them now. But we probably would have lost way, way more people. And the second thing is they also had a situation with hospitals. And I think in one of the podcasts I spoke about last year, where my sister said the hospitals are now overwhelmed. They have people resigning. They've got people actually in the health institutions like dropping like flies too, and we only got it now. And I think that this is what the Jeff was talking about. It's that they tried until the vaccine, or at least a certain amount of the population is vaccinated, then we're really trying to slow down the thing. So you have to really see the point on both sides. What to me is a little bit not, I won't say hypocrite.
Say it.
But but it's that we first went through, we have to save lives. We have to save lives. And now it's really, we just have to make sure we got enough hospital beds. And so even today, apparently it was a brain fart, but even the Prime Minister was throwing a bit of the idea that maybe now children above under 18 can now drive forklifts, you know, because we need people. And we know that yesterday they were talking about overseas students now having a reduction in their visa fees in order to really do some of the jobs. So right now you can see that there's a problem with the labor, and you have now today the lowest unemployment in 13 years. They can't find people. There's people in McDonald's who can't have enough employees. There's people in Woolies that can't even have enough employees to even pack the shelves.
Yeah.
And all of that is impacting on us, you know?
Exactly. I was talking to someone, I can't remember who, but up in North Queensland and stuff, where they do the mass farming and they rely on the tourists for the fruit picking and stuff. Apparently some farmer just
Peeled it back into the earth.
Built it back into $1 million worth of vegetables, fruit and vegetables back into the earth within a week because no one was there to pick it. And I mean, there's people starving in this world. What the friggin' hell is that? You know, like $1 million worth of produce into the ground because no one was there to pick it. It's just shocking.
It'd ruin Cotty's jingle, wouldn't it? My dad picks the fruit. He would.
Stop it.
What about the Djokovic saga? Because that was a big one.
That was
I love the puns that have come out. No vax, Djokovic, and all that sort of stuff. I love them. The only tennis player that's been beaten by missing 2 shots. There's been so many of them. He's now got a job with the English cricket team because Australia took 2 weeks to get him out. All this sort of thing. I love the. This is
the returning Serb one's my favourite. It's Djokovic sitting on a plane. It's Djokovic sitting on a plane, and they say this is called a return Serb.
There's so many of them. It's great.
I think
I like the one that Mastercard's done with Djokovic's picture and the Mastercard next to it, and it says, what is it? It's accepted across the world, even when your visa is rejected. I love that.
I think, and I only just attributed Hillsong to it, but my initial thoughts were because of the way they've treated us over the vaccine, they couldn't let him stay and they couldn't let him play. But then Hillsong, right? So the whole thing I think Tennis Australia probably did everything they could and under the table deals and backhand shakes and everything they could to get him here because he's worth a lot of money to the tournament and worth a lot of money for publicity. Someone buggered up and he got sprung, and then I think the government, fearing public backlash, did what they did. I think they knew he was in the country. Of course they knew he was in the country. It's Novak Djokovic, for crying out loud. It wasn't until someone blew up that it became an issue, and then I think the only reason they've punted him is fearing public backlash. It's clearly not for public safety. Otherwise the Prime Minister's church wouldn't be able to hold a mass gathering with a rock band on stage, but not call it a concert, would he?
So was it the right decision to send him back, do you guys think, or what are your thoughts on it?
Well, the revenge part of me, or the fair's fair, or the well, that's how I got treated, so should he, says, yeah, send him back. But I also sit there and go, well, Hillsong, and we're literally allowed to do anything we want now as long as we don't.
Advertising, mate, that church, please.
As long as we don't.
Yeah, I'm glad he can go
there.
They
need to pay us to be advertised that much, right? They just had about 7 minutes.
I'm probably going to be shot after this podcast. So, well, the black car's sitting out the front now. So the powers that be, don't worry.
Well, listen, whatever happens, I think he was a symbol of vaxxers, anti-non-vaxxed people. And I think that's sad. That was a sad thing. because you know, during COVID, and if we're talking about what do we take out of 2021, I think that 2021 has been nothing else but 2020 on steroids, where people really selfishness has come out. And you can see it now. The people who got the vaccine, mainly because it's good for them, mainly because they're doing something right for the country, suddenly now turn around and take it on the people who decided, hey, no, I don't want to. And I think he was the symbol. Now, I think that the entire country and probably the entire world has been fooled, because Novak, as you probably will find out about articles coming out soon, Novak and his wife owns about 80% of a company in biotech called Quant BioRes. So Quant, Quant, Bio, BIO, and Res, RES. That is actually a non-form of vaccine against COVID. So it's been an amazing advertising for him. It's a Danish company that they bought shares into. And so now he's prolonging the advertising, because as of today, he's planning on suing the Australian government for $6 million in terms of damages for what's happened to him. So the longer he's getting this, if it is true, because right now I'm getting it from The Age, the Guardian, Fox, Forbes, and some of the other channels. And if it is true, it's the best advertising he's ever done.
I don't think he's going to lose any money out of it, mate. I don't think he's going to be short of $1. I had to turn the TV off the other day because the deadliest day in New South Wales was when 36 people died from COVID, and the channel that's somewhere between 8 and 10, I won't name them, started the report with 3 people died between the ages in their 40s. 2 of them weren't vaccinated. The other 30 people who died were all over 70. And then just switched off, didn't name their vaccination status. It was the most blatant, and what had already come out in the news earlier in the day is 33 of the 36 people who died were double vaxxed, right? So the war is still on between vaxxed and anti-vaxxed, and the media, depending on who's paying their bills and who's putting the money in their pockets behind the scenes, is still fooling everybody with everything that's going on. I think one of the biggest takeaways from 2021 I wrote down was that vaccine become a hotter topic to talk about or more divisive topic than religion or politics.
Yeah.
You couldn't have that conversation. I think it's somewhat, although the Novak thing probably flies in the face of my argument, but I think it's become somewhat calmer now, where there isn't as much I'm only gauging the public feel from where I am and people I talk to. There isn't as much vitriol about it. But 2021 was a war between people who didn't think they should be forced to be vaccinated, not anti-vaxxers, people who didn't think they should be forced to be vaccinated, and people who thought by getting vaccinated was going to save the country. Well, look where we are now. How many banks were shut, Chris? The poor banks?
Yeah. Yeah, but
what did you guys get from the lessons out of 2021?
Gosh, so many. I know for the real estate market, it almost felt like as a result of 2020, where people were panic buying, it almost felt like 2021, apparently everybody panicked for houses because the market had never been so great. I mean, I don't know, I know you guys all experienced it as well. Like the prices and the amount of inquiry and people moving was incredible. And I think obviously because we were able to innovate so quickly and so many people worked from home, even in government positions and everything, it's places like where I am became highly sought after, and it was just bedlam.
Yeah, I think that was a sign. I actually wrote the same thing, but in different language. 2021 showed that not many people are happy with where they live or the lifestyle they have, because and we throw out on the Central Coast, we throw out all the time other buyers are coming from Sydney. And yes, that's true, but Sydney's a bloody big place. But the amount of people who left the city, right, that was new, because we'd always had the fringes of Sydney, the Hills District and Northern Beaches buying up our way. But the city, the amount of people who fled their lives, because the minute they got the chance to work from home, they're like, I fucking hate living here. I don't like where we are. I don't feel safe. I don't feel secure. We can go elsewhere. And that's what everyone did. So
gave them an
Um,
alternate reality. It gave them an alternative to what they were living through, and they could see that it was possible, right?
Well, yeah, they just weren't. How many people weren't happy with their lives? No one chose.
Yep.
Like, very few said, "Oh, I love living in the city and I'm here because I want to be." They're like, "Fuck, now I don't have to work here. I'm out." Right.
Exactly. And I think it set a lot of perspective for a lot of people as well around a lot of things. Job, you know, if you weren't in a job that you were happy with, you moved, you know, or if you weren't living in a place that you were happy, you moved, you know, if you weren't in a relationship that you were happy with, you moved. A lot of there was things going around, like if you survived 2020 without buying a puppy or an air fryer, you did pretty well, because, you know, so many people were stuck at home and lonely, and, you know, it was just, yeah, it was a crazy year to look back on. And but a lot of, as bad as it was for some, there was a lot of good that come out of it as well, I think, you know.
Well, when we posed that question, I didn't look extreme, like externally. I looked internally, personally. Probably a little bit of a selfish way I looked at it, actually. And for me, I've sort of picked three main things. And the first one for me was family. I just realised how important family was. And that's not just our immediate family, but our extended family, and the family not only the family given, but the family we choose, our close friends.
Yeah.
And the fact that there were so many Zooms we had during those lockdowns, the first and second lockdown, from our friends that we were just missing. And we just wanted to reach out and connect. So it made me realise just how social humans were.
Yeah.
And that isolation's not healthy.
Absolutely.
So that for me was a huge thing, was that it's just so important to be in touch with your friends and family. That was a real big thing.
I think connection was the thing, like, just to touch on what you're talking about. So many people just forgot what it was like just to be in I think I was actually having a conversation, Thomas, with Veronique, and it was like, just to be able to stand there and talk to somebody face to face and like touch them on the arm, and you just had no connection. It was just all computer screen, phone screen, laptop, iPad. It was just the weirdest thing. It was almost like being in jail, you know.
You know, we've been doing this on Zoom now for, I don't know how long we've been doing it on Zoom, on Facebook. A year.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, and Lou, you haven't experienced, but I can honestly say it's not the same as when we got together. There's that nuance. There's that feeling. I don't know what it is. We can't try the salamis and the cheeses and all that at the same time, which is probably a good thing, but there's something missing. That part of it's missing.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone realised just how important that is to being a human.
Yeah, totally.
I think COVID really, 2020 and 2021 really brought that out in a lot of people. For me, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
A really big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another big thing that I took away from this, and Lou, you experienced a death during that time as well, was my father's passing. And sort of made me realise that we don't have forever. We need to act now.
Yeah.
So stop thinking you're going to live forever and you've got forever to make a decision to do something. You know, turning 50 and Dad passing was a sort of very close together as well. So I made a major decision in life. And so for me, that was another big one. It was like a smack in the face. And COVID, I suppose, helped bring it to that pinnacle where I think a lot of people would have made a decision on those major life issues that they would have gone through.
Yeah.
So that was another major one for me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Chris.
We don't have forever.
I think small business especially, adapt or die has to be the message come out of 2021. Have a plan. I think the ability to pivot and the ability to cover off anything that could happen in the world. I think in a way it had to be a good thing, because too many people had it too good for too long, and the minute they were forced to have to do a sidestep or a pivot or a tumble turn or a backflip, they didn't know which way was up. So it's funny. I don't know if you guys have experienced the same thing, but I could probably count on two fingers the amount of venues or hospitality places I've been to since COVID hit, where the service was actually up to a pre-COVID standard. Like hotels, the service has gone through the floor. Some restaurants, they don't know how to treat a customer anymore. it's all gone to shit. And like you feel for the hospitality industry, because if anyone, they've probably been pummeled harder than a lot of people, but haven't adapted, didn't have a plan in place, and obviously don't have as far as training, or, you know, they'll all blame, oh, we've got new staff or we can't find staff, but that's adapt or die has to be something you take out of 2021 because.
Yeah, but hold on, mate. You have to think about this. The government didn't really give a shit about these small businesses, right?
No, they didn't. No.
They filled the pocket of these guys that were wanting to get a $750 a week and do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So now you think about this. These business owners now have to employ these people. Mate, they already struggling to find them. Really? They're going to put the heavy on them because they're doing a bad thing? I've been to the Hunter Valley this last weekend, and I tell you, some of the two of the best restaurants in the Hunter Valley, the service was shit out. It was bad. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, this can't be. But I also thought, no, this can be, because if they fire these guys, they're going to be struggling to find someone. So these business owners have to accept substandard measures. But I think...
Do they though? Hang on. Do they though? Because they can blame the government, and there's all the reasons in the world why their service shouldn't be good. But do you settle for that? That's one of my... How do we make 22...
But Cam, if they've got a shortage of staff,
you got to run your own race. If you're relying on the government to save you, one thing 2021's taught us, if you're relying on anyone to save you but yourself, you're fucked, right? If you are expecting someone else to kick the can for you or fucking pick you up when you're down or do anything for you, especially the people we elect to look after the country, you're fucked. So while, Thomas, you're 100% right, the government did nothing for these people, and I'm not saying they need to sack the people because of poor service, but they clearly weren't prepared for it. And now that the government not helping them isn't an excuse, because you have to adapt or you're going to die. People will stop going to those restaurants with the shit. So what's the option?
Yeah. Doesn't it all come back to, though, like when you think about it like that, and I was listening to what you were saying, Cam, and yes, people had to adapt or die, and that's a good way to look at it. But doesn't that just show how important it is to be at the forefront of technology and understanding people and why people do what they do, and, you know, having policies and procedures and systems and all of that, you know, because COVID or not, you know, a business will still fail if it doesn't have those things, you know.
Well, they hadn't. Not enough of them had, Lou, right? So, and that's the part, that's the adaptation.
Yeah.
Too many old school models that didn't know where to go once shit went bad.
Exactly my point. And when people don't know where to go, they go fight or flight mode. And a lot of people folded. A lot of people went fear-based and they made bad decisions. And a lot of people just lost it, you know, like just literally lost it. And I think for me, one of the things that one of my big takeaways was, you know, you've seen a lot of panic. 2021 felt like it had a lot of panic. It had a lot of frustration. It had a lot of anger. It had a lot of like we versus them. And, you know, and it felt to me like my job was to know what was happening and be aware of what was happening, but remain calm and only look at it for what it is. Don't overblow it in your mind. Don't undersell it either, because it's serious and it is. But a lot of my team, even men, like grown men, were shit scared of this. And I'm thinking, okay, how do you keep a grown man stable and not scared of this? You be that person, that anchor or that stability for them. Even though inside you're thinking, Jesus, you know.
But you took ownership for it, Lou. That's what I'm saying. That's that's what I'm saying. You have to, there's only one person you can rely on. Thomas and I opened an office a week before the second lockdown.
Yeah.
With a bunch of staff. One was a plumber, one had just finished his HSC, and one was in customer service in a pharmaceutical company. Nowhere there did I mention real estate. Right.
Yeah.
So we could have sat back and gone, we're fucked. We can't find people. We're just going to have to put up with a shit level of service until things smooth over and we can get real people in. We could have done all that.
But
right? No, we didn't. Instead, we go, right, we're just going to have to pump these people with as much training as humanly possible. We're going to have to give without having to worry about getting. We're going to have to make them feel like they're part of a family. We're going to have to make sure they have all the tools they need to be successful.
Yeah.
And the end result of all that was a business that opened a week before the second lockdown and made a fuck ton of money. Like that's the business. That's why you can't go down the route of the government didn't look after these people. The government doesn't look after anybody, except if you're in that religion that starts with a H and has an S halfway through it, right? They're not looking after anybody. So
when it comes, look, Cam, look, I agree with you the fact that you've got to be proactive as a business owner and sort of plan for the worst, right? A lot of these...
You're planning for the worst, just know that it's on you.
Yeah, but a lot of these restaurants, I think, are having major issues getting staff. When they get staff, they've got no hospitality experience. When they get a little bit of experience, they'll leave for $1. They haven't had a chance to sort of build some rapport with the staff to keep them and so forth. So at the moment...
So they're going to die because they're the only two options.
They're not. But what's going to happen is their business may take a bit of a hit. And I think as humans, we need to have a little bit of understanding that they have a few service issues at the moment. I know you're going out and paying $45 for a main meal and $120 for a bottle of wine.
I was going to say, if I'm paying $100 for a steak and I ask for it rare, I don't want it well done.
But as humans, we also have to understand that they have also come through a shit time the last 2 years. We need to give a little bit of a grace period. Yeah. I think it'll all come out in the wash because a lot of these people now in hospitality were taken by these traveling students, by, holiday visas and so forth, like the pickers and so about the farmers and so forth. I think we just need to be a little bit more tolerant.
Yeah. I think you're 100% right. You're 100% right, and reasonable minds would be tolerant. I go to a pizza place and the prawns are still frozen. It's probably because they're scared they're going to lose their stock the next week, right? Because they've had their stock, they've been shut down that many times. Reasonable people understand that. But one thing 21 showed us again in 2020 and moving into 22, we're not a country full of reasonable people, right? So these companies have to adapt.
I don't think so, man. I think the reason...
Thank God we do have, Cam, the most reasonable and the most, the most composed and level head kind of person.
Oh, the Jeff's coming in.
Have you, man. Listen, we only spoke about restaurant, but there were many other businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, we were lucky. We were in real estate.
We were very lucky.
There was no traveling happening. There was surplus of cash. There was actually a ripple effect of money being offered inside Sydney, and then it started rippling out. All of these things happened, and then that was 2020, and then 2021 there was greed that started to come in, which is I want more. My neighbor got 1.2, I want 1.3, and so we could see that in real estate. But what about the guy that just ran the gym? And afterwards he tried to make ends meet by doing online stuff. What about the restaurant that was not geared for takeaway? I mean, I understand some restaurant could actually change and adapt and actually did better because they didn't have to pay for waitresses. They didn't have to pay for, probably dishes being broken or washing things. I get that. But what about all those businesses? What about the hairdressing salon that had 7 or 8 people? And then suddenly now, these 7 or 8 people are starting to go, hold on, I've got my 30 personal or private people. Why do I just now run my own little business and do it for them at 30% less? And suddenly now, what happened in 2021, I think was the beginning. There was also the beginning of smaller businesses. We had small businesses, and I believe that 2022 is going to be an explosion of small businesses. Guys that really understand, hold on, I need to just be prepared, whatever happens, because I can't count on the government to really save my skin. What if they just come up with these kind of silly rules next time that we have another kind of sneeze virus? Am I going to be in trouble, or am I going to be self-sufficient? And I think that there's going to be an explosion this year of guys that are thinking, hold on, I can sell houses. Why don't I just do things myself? There's going to be actually a change in the way that people are going to work, because driven by the need to spend more time around the family, to be in control of their own time, they're actually going to realize I can actually earn double doing it myself. That's going to change.
Yeah,
I heard that.
agree. I 100% agree with you. And the other thing, I know there's businesses in my area that had to adapt to online takeaway, restaurants and just doing takeaway. And you know what? Some of them have not even gone back to the old way. It's been so successful that they've actually just stayed doing what they're doing, and their business has exploded. And I think a lot of it comes back to, though, because some businesses tried it and failed, and I think a lot of it comes back to the driver, who's in that seat and who runs that business. Because if that person doesn't, like you were saying, Cam, the belief and the systems and the training and the commitment, it's not going to work anyway. So,
if you have an innovative mindset and you were a small business owner, you could find an alternative to deliver your product a different way. I think you're going to fly. You would have flew, and you're going to continue to do it. I also see a huge increase in contractors. I think there's a lot of people that were working for people that now are going to say, you know what, I can do what I did for them for a lot of people working from home and get paid more money. So the small businesses, you're right, Thomas, that's going to increase dramatically because of those contractors. And it could be
smaller business. That's what I only had.
That's right.
I only had a couple of things written down for 2022, and one was run your own race, which we've just spoken about, and it ties into what was. You can't rely on anyone, so you're going to have to run your own race. If you haven't learned that by now, you're a bit slow on the uptake, and we probably can't help you. But the other thing is, we talked about the skills shortage. If ever there was a year to get out of a job that you thought you had to have to get in a career, to get into a career that you've actually dreamed of or want to do, then 2022 is going to be that year, because there is no one that's going to knock you back. There's nothing to lose, because we've just all agreed we're fucked anyway, right? We can't rely. You don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow with the job. That's the reality of the world we live in, right? All these industries, all these companies that have had to shut down overnight, and the place where you've worked for the last 9 years, where you were safe in your job, and then every time someone suggested, oh, you'd be really good at this, oh yeah, but no, I've got this 9 to 5 and it pays for the family and it pays for the mortgage. If what's gone on in the last 2 years hasn't woken you up to the fact that can all leave you tomorrow, all right, then you haven't been listening. So 2022 has to be your year of running your own race. And if there was ever anything you wanted to try, now's the time to try it, because what's the worst that could happen? Oh, you wake up tomorrow and your job's gone. Well, guess what? That's happening anyway. But what's the best that could happen? What's the positive outcome? Too many of us worry about what's the worst case scenario. What's the best case scenario? What if I do this and it works? Holy shit. But no one thinks of that. Everyone's like, oh, what happens if it goes wrong? Well, guess what? The world has gone very, very wrong unless you're in Hillsong. The world's gone very wrong unless you're in Hill. Is that a song?
I'll ask you guys this. So you guys are recruiting? You're looking for people, Ken?
Yeah.
Yes, we are, mate. I've got 3 officers that are looking for people, screaming for people.
Lou, you're looking for people?
I've done 10 interviews this week.
That's why her hair's like that.
I think
once she's hired him, she just goes back to the ponytail, mate. Don't worry.
What's that? You've done 10 hairdresser interviews? What was that?
I did 10 interviews this week, and that's why her hair's like that. Well, I didn't do any today.
You've had 3 pedicures and a manicure. What?
I bit all my fingernails off.
Look,
No.
We're trying to recruit because we need to grow now. We've got our salespeople now. As of last week, we're already at base. So we've got salespeople now heading towards the $200,000 in this first 6 months.
So we need them to go on holidays, and we need other people to replace them.
They're doing very well, and I think that's what we need to be looking at. I think this is what Cam's trying to say, is that we can either have a mentality of let's be scared and let's wait for this thing to pass, or you really ride the wave.
Exactly.
And I think that when I went up to the Hunter Valley, I saw someone who really rode the wave. I don't know whether you ever been to Leo Gate. Leo Gate is a winery that Vicky's bought with her husband, and they were into cows and cattle. And what happened is this time I drove past, and what did she do? Instead of just having a winery and a restaurant, she's now, they have now built something like 20 cottages, brand new, on their land. so that they can actually cater for weddings with guests staying there. And so we now have people who just think, hold on, why don't I just change this? Instead of people like traveling all over Australia with rules changing by the day, and they had to learn in 2021 with cancellation, which is 1 minute's on, 1 minute you're going to get like credit towards the next ticket.
Yeah.
Why don't we just take advantage of our own state in New South Wales, where people are going to start traveling in New South Wales? But here it is in 2022, things are going to change. We're going to travel again.
Yeah.
So I think that in 2022, people have got that kind of itch. For the last 2 years, they could not move, let alone go even interstate. I think there's going to be a lot of money going overseas. That's my belief for 2022. And if that means that people are spending our money overseas, it also means that we will have less money here for mortgages or our living standards. And that means too that house price is going to be hit.
Yeah, I think, if they haven't already, well, I think it's already started in a lot of our
It stabilized though. It went down by Christmas and it stabilized.
Yeah, it stabilized. Yeah, no, I agree with that. It got to a level. I think we lost 5% overnight, and then I think in some areas we're probably 7 or 8%. And I think it's now we've had which we always get at the start of the year. It's not so much a spike of activity, but the activity is back, which has plateaued the prices. I think the further the year goes and the colder the months get, especially after an extremely wet summer that we're having, and very soon, probably after Australia Day, that initial we all have at the start of the year to go out and buy a house drops back off. And I think it's not the end of the world, but I think we went up 30% last year. Let's not forget, I know the national figures are 22, but 30% in all our areas, which is a huge amount. So to come back 10%.
In the short term, I think Omicron has created a little bit of a boost to the real estate market. The fact that a lot of people were holding off putting their property on the market, but the buyers are still out there. So in the short term, real short term, we're going to see some good numbers through open homes. I think long term, you're right. I think the market's going to really stabilise and come back to sort of more of a.
I'm seeing the opposite, Chriso. I'm seeing the opposite, mate. Open home numbers are extremely low.
Okay.
The stock levels are huge. Like in some of our suburbs, we've gone from 5 properties on the market to 35. And if we take Kalleske office, for example, within a 10-kilometre radius where there was 40 properties on the market, there's now 180, 190.
Are you talking since Christmas? Are you talking since
the New Year? That change started at the start of December.
Okay, I'm talking since the new year.
The stock levels are still huge. Stock levels are still massive.
Okay.
My other Barossa area is exactly the same. The one area I have that hasn't felt that yet is Hoang, where there's still only 3 or 4 properties on the market. So that's still enough competition between the buyers that are there. But I think across the corridor that we own, I think there's probably between a 7 and a 10% comeback has already happened, and it'll stabilise. I think that's probably all we're going to get. I think 10 to 15% is where it settles by the end of the year. But don't forget, guys, we're very, very fucking close to an election now. Very close to an election, and that had huge ramifications leading into the election in 2019. Huge.
Yeah.
The bit is what happens right after.
That depends who wins. And I was very confident this time last year on who would win, but now I've got no idea because there's been that many fuck ups. And I don't know. I think Clive Palmer's in with a real shot. So
I think that, listen, Australians are not stupid. They see maybe Morrison making mistakes, Perrottet maybe making mistakes, but they see inaction from Albanese and the Labour Party. And I think that in the end, people don't vote for people who are dormant.
They're just trying to win by default, aren't they? They're really just sitting back.
And in this country, I don't think we look at that. In America, they did. So, but here they
really dormant, really dormant.
Hey, the Jeff is here.
Like a volcano.
The Jeff is here, and we owe him an apology because he's spoken about the hospital being overwhelmed, right? We were the four, not you, Lou, but we were the three
I was gonna
idiots
say,
who were, it's not true, but he's here. So let's listen to him, and Kev, you owe him an apology, all right?
I don't have to,
Hi there, Jeff. How you doing, mate?
hang on, he's got to wait for his audio.
Connect into his audio, turning his hearing aid up.
I don't want to start on a bad foot, Jeff, but Thomas
Happy
has just
New
told
Year
me.
to Jeff.
Happy New Year, Jeff.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
Happy
mate.
New Year.
Thomas has just told me I have to apologise to you, and I'd have to say get stuffed because I got 2 kids with COVID, and there's not a thing wrong with them, mate. So all that talk about making sure we protect our family, I think. But anyway, you're right. The hospitals are filled, mate. How are you, buddy? Are you good?
Happy, very good, happy and healthy.
Oh, that's good, mate. That's good. That's because of the
But, we're in
17
the
booster
same
shots you've
predicament as
no
you
doubt
are.
had on you. Sorry?
We're in the same predicament as you are. You know, I've got a bit of a lockdown scenario here as well.
No, look out. Lucky you've had your 17 booster shots, mate, that were no doubt helicoptered to you by the leader of the church, I meant the country.
I've got a special lane that takes me all the way down the freeway.
Isn't the biggest congregation centre for that place that we're not allowed to mention anymore close to where you live? The HS, aren't they near you? So you and Scotty, you'd be good. You'd be up there rocking and rolling in the concerts that no one else is allowed to go to, protecting the community.
Now, listen, I've got to tell you, I've been very busy just in the last 5 minutes. You would not believe it. I'm typing up my resume. I want to be an estate agent.
No, we're
No
busy.
way.
Our books are full.
Come on. This is the opportunity of a lifetime
What are
that
you talking about, Jeff? What are you talking about?
hey, you
I just inspired him. What he's
everybody
saying
said that
is,
they were desperate for staff.
what he's saying is that the big dog actually just inspired him to do something.
Oh, listen, mate. Anytime you want to do anything in real estate, mate, I'll take you on straight away. I'll make you rich. But I think that right now you're probably doing very, very well in your industry, wouldn't it?
I'm already rich in happiness.
Oh, how good's that?
He's on the board of Pfizer. That's what he's doing very well.
Well, I
He's
told you about
Oh,
that
cheers.
I told you about that branding exercise.
Yeah,
It's gonna get bigger.
Yeah, head of marketing, the Jeff. Hey,
For
I know.
Novak Djokovic.
Hey, you know, I got to come back to Djokovic. You know, what do you think? Do you think he should have got booted or not? Because he didn't actually have any anti-vax sentiments while he was here, and that was one of the main reasons he's kicked out. But we've got other guys like George Christensen, that's a blatant anti-vaxxer, and he's
he
allowed
just-
to stay on.
no, he just
You know, we
resigned,
can't kick
didn't
him
he?
out.
He just resigned.
No, he resigned from his position in the as a senior minister, or not a minister, from a trade and delegate, whatever it is. He gets about an extra $30,000 a year, but he's still a member of parliament till the election.
Yeah, that's politicians for you, mate. They're the only ones that haven't taken a pay cut through this whole thing. I don't think he should have been booted, but only because the whole fucking world's gone mad and there's that much hypocrisy that it doesn't matter anyway. Like, it's absolutely laughable. But
Well, he's going to have to get booted. He's going to have to get vaccinated because the French government has actually introduced the mandating of vaccinations. So he
yeah,
won't
but
be
if
able to
what
go to the
Thomas
French
has said is true and he owns a company that, or is part owner of a company that can treat COVID without vaccine, he doesn't have to ever have to play tennis again. He just needs as many court cases as he can, the big fella.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't-
this is the thing he likes. He loves his tennis. You know, making money is one thing, but he loves
Mate,
it.
I remember the old Novak Djokovic where he used to pretend to be hurt every game he was losing, right? When he was not that good at it, he was only top 10. He wasn't number one. Every time he got hurt, he used to quit. He doesn't love tennis that much. He only loves it because he was winning, and now he's found a better way.
Have you seen all the great little Australians in the tennis lately? That's really quite inspiring.
Yeah, they're doing well. They're doing well.
Yeah.
aren't they?
there's
Yeah.
so
Mate, you're
many-
not that tall yourself. Calling him little is just demeaning.
I ask you this then: whoever wins the men's singles, will he feel like a champion not beating the world's number one?
Well, just imagine if Raphael gets up there, he'll be 21st Grand Slam and be better than Dokic. That'll be a good one.
I'll tell you what, no one's answered Jeff's question, and none of you except for me answered it before, only because I talk too much. Do you think Novak should have been kicked out? Chris?
Yeah.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Lou?
Absolutely.
You think he should have been kicked with all the other bullshit that's going on in the world? Wow.
But you said it before, Cam, there's a lot of hypocrisy happening, mate. I still put it back to, state of origin when all the families and players went from New South Wales to Queensland when apparently the borders were shut and there was people in Sydney who couldn't get home to bloody Queensland.
No, but that's the point. So our own a premier in our own country, that useless thing north of the border could run a state of origin when people couldn't go to funerals of family members.
And then you got politicians going to bloody Japan for the Olympics and so forth.
Where was the uproar then? Where was the
amount of hypocrisy is crazy. Like,
where was ScoMo cancelling the state of origin, mate? He didn't, did he?
Let's move on because I don't think that we're going to go anywhere. Jeff, what's your prediction for 2022 with COVID and Omicron? And like some people are obviously now thinking this is the end of COVID because it's going to be on such a big scale. Other people are saying, hold on, what if there's another variant coming up and this variant is stronger? And already you can see the people a lot of people, even though they've been vaccinated, are actually pretty sick. So thank God for the vaccination because we don't know what would have happened to those people. But where are we going?
Well, the hospitals are inundated, and we all know that. I think one of the problems that, and speaking to a couple of the clinicians that I've spoken to, it's the lack of recognition because, they're all under extreme difficulties and complexities and all that sort of stuff, struggling every day. They've got no staff, but they've still got to turn up and their workload is just higher. But then there's the other side of the framework where all the administrators and politicians are turning around saying, oh, we're all coping. And that's not necessarily true. They're struggling and they're doing the best what they can with the finite resources that they have.
Yeah.
It's the lack of recognition that is probably the biggest thing that's, pissing them off.
Yeah, so I think that in many ways the population is a bit selfish that way. We know that it's been raising that because the population has gone through what we call COVID fatigue, but no one understood that maybe these health personnel have also gone through fatigue, right?
Correct. And that's one of the biggest concerns that they have there. They're even, in Victoria, where they've called it a brown zone or whatever it is, that gives them the power, the government power to actually move people from hospitals to hospitals, from cleaning duties to, orderly duties, and just to be able to move them around, so that's going to create more stress. And I think you even highlighted that they're getting any person that can come on that can drive an ambulance or that can actually push a trolley or that can actually, so forth. All these people cannot have their elective surgery, so they can't have their implants and their IVFs and anything else. It's,
so what's your prediction? He asked you for a prediction.
It's going to continue at this same pace until at least the third quarter of this year.
Wow. Okay.
And what's Bitcoin going to do?
No.
Asking for a friend.
No, it's no longer Bitcoin, man. It's NFT, man.
Yeah, I know, but okay.
But Jeff, I want to ask you this: instead of the government now giving free money to those bludgers to stay at home, shouldn't the government give that money and they go to hospital and do some work?
But the reason why the government is giving them money, forget the unemployment. Are you talking about the COVID relief packages?
Yeah, the bludgers.
Well, they've actually got a communicable disease, and that's why they got that money. I think the latest what they're saying is that you do a rapid test, and then you just document it. Then you get $700.
Yeah, I get that. I've got quite a few rapid tests. They're all positive. By
Is that the rule?
That's if you don't have any sick leave.
Well said. We're rich. How old do you have to be? Can a 6-year-old claim it?
If you're a carer, but you don't care.
I care. I
You
care.
don't care.
I care 700 times. I care. Well done. We're going to Disneyland.
Oh dear.
He hasn't changed. So the Jeff, what happens then after the third quarter? I can't help but to ask you because we talk about 2022. So why are you saying the third quarter? What happened around that time?
Because I think there's going to be a lot more people with booster. I think there's going to be a lot more people that have actually contracted it. And a lot of the people that, in hospitals at the moment, I think 50% of the people aren't vaccinated still.
Nothing to do with the government getting re-elected, Jeff, that everything all of a sudden disappears?
Well,
Because that'd be around the third quarter, wouldn't it?
About inactivity, but I think
That'd be around the third quarter, wouldn't it? You and your mate, it gets back into office and all of a sudden all this shit disappears. That wouldn't happen, would it?
Well, to be honest, you talked about the inactivity of the Labor. I think, unfortunately, best let him dig his own grave. And that's what he's doing, unfortunately. He's digging his own grave. So by saying nothing, it's probably the best way for Albanese.
Well, he's got
Thomas
nothing.
doesn't think we're all that stupid.
Well, ScoMo's looking pretty stupid at the moment. He's very reactive to all this. He was reactive to climate change when he went to wherever he went.
Does he know you're saying these things, Jeff? I worry about your future.
Well, I was down there talking to him.
Right.
So, he knows where I feel. And I told him about the HS organisation too.
If I ask you, mate, I've got a question, like medically, is there a point where we'll get to like a population saturation where majority of people have had it, that it just won't be as effective anymore? Will we ever get to that point, or can we get to that point?
Population saturation, that's fantastic.
I don't know, that's a word I just put together, right?
That's good.
Is there a critical point that where it's not going to matter anymore?
Well, they're talking about the critical point for infections is going to be in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And that then impacts on first we get infections, then about 2 weeks later you get hospitalizations, and then probably 2 or 3 weeks later you get intensive care rise. So probably that's why I'm saying about a 6-week period, we're going to see probably the worst of it. But then we're going to get into another status where we're sort of like, we're coming out of it because we've got boosters, we've got vaccinations, we've got herd immunity. And I think that that's where we'll be seeing a little bit more scope for the future.
So
is that the name of the next vaccine, Scope? Is that what you're saying?
What happens if we get another variant? What happens if we get another variant thrown into the mix in the next 6 days?
That's a guaranteed to be happen.
Yeah,
Chris, that's what I'm saying, mate.
That's a guarantee. It's like the flu.
As soon as we get our herd immunity, they're going to have to come up with something else because we've got to keep the gravy train. They're onto a good thing, mate. What they've worked out is that we're all idiots. We'll all do whatever they tell us. We'll believe anything we've seen on TV.
All right.
So we'll just run the same plan.
For a minute. Let's eliminate cynicism for a minute.
Oh.
Will we get to a point where we can just continue life like it is the actual flu? I know it is a flu, but you understand my sort of question.
No, yes, I agree. I think you'll see it in the third quarter of this year.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you this. If you stumble across a way to make $65 trillion in a year, are you going to change your plan?
Yes.
You are. Even though changing that plan means you don't make $65 trillion a year, you go back to 10.
Hang on. No, hang on. You said, will I change my plan to make that 65?
No, you've stumbled across a way that you've tripped and fell over a way, and all of a sudden there's $65 trillion in your bank, and you've gone, hang on, we're onto a good thing here.
Will I follow
that turn around the next year?
That plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's why this is going to be a never-ending circle, mate, because they've worked out how they can make shit tons, and we all just say, okay. Yep.
Well, we don't have to suffer that kind of fate. If we were smart, we should all put some of our money together and we should really get onto a non-vaccine kind of COVID-19 cure. And
Well, I got 2 positive tests, so I got $1,400 apparently that I can throw towards the cause.
Oh, it's $1,600, $750.
Either that or restocking your wine cabinet.
That is for mate. That Mark, I'm confused. I'm conflicted.
There is fine print to that.
So, Jeff, let's ask Jeff a last question before we let him go. I know you're busy, mate. So this year, better than 2021? Worse? The same?
It's going to be definitely 100% better. 100%, because I think that there is light at the tunnel as far as this, and I think that's the big thing that we should actually look for. You know.
Yeah.
So
define better and define worse, though.
Well, you know, you talked about the small businesses. That's a really bad situation. You talked about the poor service. You talked about. But now I think that will stabilize. I think the businesses will actually start to open up a lot more. And I think that we'll see a little bit more empathy and a little bit more local domestic travel, support the tourist. I think there's so many other things. I think if you've gone through a bad situation, you do look on a positive note.
Yeah.
And that's what I reckon that we're going to see. I think we're going to see some positivity coming out.
I agree. I 100% agree with Jeff, and I agree that it's like explosion of small business. There'll be a lot of positivity. There'll be a lot of people wanting to do things for themselves. I think there'll be a lot of domestic travel. So going back to the market, like I was going to chime in before, but I didn't really do it. But I was thinking, there's a lot of people that are going to travel. There's a lot of people that can take their business online. Therefore, they can do it out of their Winnebago. They can do it out of their four-wheel drive. They can do it anywhere. So I think there's be a lot of movement in the market, regardless of people selling to live life on the road or in another town, you know. So I think there'll be a lot
of positive rat tests.
Thanks very much for your time today, Jeff.
Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Jeff.
Lovely to see you all.
Good to have you back, mate. Said no one. Bye.
See you, buddy.
All right. So listen, but this is also the one thing that I need to warn people. Not everyone's built to run a business.
Yes.
Right. There's a lot of people who would love to run a business, but to run a business, you have to have, I think, a brave heart. You gotta have that ability to know there's going to be more storms than sunshine. And
sunny days,
you have to learn to conquer these storms rather than think that, you know, someone's going to come and save you. There's no savior. Yeah. If anything, anyone who's going to save you in the world of business, it's only to put a bigger bullet to your ankle. And so I think that this is what I really would like to tell people. While you're listening to this and you're saying, oh man, this is what they're talking, maybe I should. There are people in my own life that I've met who were making millions of dollars, in today's kind of currency, and who had that, what we call it, we say in French, the folie de grandeur, who thought I could do this, I'd do it myself, and who actually broke today because they went out there and they did not get it. To run a business, you're gonna have to be resilient. You're gonna have to know what it is to almost drown. If you don't know what it is to almost drown and still wake up in the morning and go, I need to take action. And I think that what Chris said earlier is very good, because tomorrow is promised to no one. Life's short. I don't understand. I don't know. If you don't have that, you don't have that ticker. Stay where you are, because if you leave that, you're going to drown even faster. There are people that I believe are actually going to be rich being second. You know, around Steve Jobs, around, Wozniak, for example, around Bill Gates, was actually richer being Wozniak, unknown, hidden behind some kind of desk, rather than being Bill Gates. So and so everyone's got their own place.
We have that industry, Teal. We have that industry where you, as a salesperson, without owning a show and doing whatever, you can make a shitload of money, right? And there's a lot of, probably in our own network, there's a lot of salespeople making more than their leaders.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Right now, we actually preparing for the Wiseberry Award.
Yeah.
And I see some of our top sales guys, like there's a guy who by himself, there's no assistant, no buys agent around him,
No prospector,
no one
nothing.
to prospect for him, and he's just made $1.7+ million for the year. Right? There's no one to help him. So try to understand this. And he's not in an area where when you sell a house, right, it's a 6 or 7 million average where you get $180,000. He's not in that kind of area. So imagine this kind of guy putting together, I think, what is it? Over 70 something sales himself.
I think it was 100.
Himself.
Yeah, I think it was 100.
Well,
Unreal. Either way.
That's on his own, right?
so
And
you think about this and you have a look at that and you go, all right, so this is what we have in this kind of times. So there's, and then I'm thinking, hold on, what if he was running a show by himself? I think it'd go broke because it doesn't realize there's so many more things to do that suddenly now it's eating your time here, it's eating that time here, and suddenly you're not realizing you're making less. You're starting to be reactive. You make wrong decisions. You go, no, I can't do this. I can't do that. And now slowly you're suffocating, and people don't realize it. And as they're suffocating slowly, do you know what they do now? They put the family house on the market. They mortgage a little bit more. They do this a little bit more. And then suddenly they're now asking their kids not to go to those private school anymore because we need everything we need. And it's going to happen. And then depending on the personality of the person, ego starts to kick in. Kids, listen, it's only for short term. Dad just need a bit of that money so that I can just build this. And suddenly now they're stealing the kid's future in order to satisfy the ego. So there are people like this where I have to say, you just have to be careful. It's not because it's attractive for everyone.
It's just understanding where you're at. Chris mentioned before the rise of the contractor. Because you're a contractor, you're not running a business, right? You're self-employed. You have a job and you employ yourself. That's completely different to running a business.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people go wrong. They go, I'm going to go out on my own. I'm now a business owner but fuck, you've still got to do all the work yourself. That's not the best book for people to read is the E-Myth, I think, the E-Myth or the E-Myth Revisited.
Gerber.
But yeah, that's probably the E-Myth Revisited is the most updated version, and that'll teach you. Yeah, I held myself in a corner and cried for 3 days the day I read it because I thought I owned a gym, and what I realised was I had 16 jobs. And I didn't own shit, right? So it wasn't very good for the ego or the self-esteem or anything to do with that, but it also made you realize there's a reason there's bosses or leaders and there's employees, right? Not everyone is cut out for it.
Yeah. See, the other thing I think too that is important is exactly probably what you're about to say, Cam. Not everybody does want to run their own show.
No, they don't.
People want flexibility. People want freedom. They want more time with their family. And I think one of the blessings of 2021 was that we certainly realized quite early is, you know what, there's a whole big perspective here, and what matters and what doesn't. And people have realized that now. We actually said to our staff, you know what, 8:45 to 5:15 was our opening hours. That 15 minutes either side of 9 o'clock and 5, that half an hour to some people was worth 1,000 times what it was worth to us. So we said, hang on, let's just do 9 to 5, because that extra 15 minutes to get those kids to school, or that meant they could get to that gym class, or it meant that they could get to that soccer game, or it meant so much to them. And that's what people want. People are happy to do a good job and will do a great job, and they will be loyal, committed and driven and dedicated, but they want to see that in return as well.
That's the realization now, Lou, and that's the adapt or die bit, right? That's part of the adaptation, because if you don't adapt to that stuff,
yes,
you're gone. Your staff will leave. You'll have nobody, and then you'll blame everybody except yourself, right? But
exactly.
you were stuck, and that changed. Look, COVID didn't bring about that change. I mean, there's a bloke here who hasn't got a lot of hair on his head who's been predicting that change for the last, I don't know, how long have I been going to seminars? 5 or 6 years. And he said,
what did you say, Chris?
Yeah, what did you say, Chris?
Yeah, because I've got not a lot of hair.
We talked about the business of the future since the past, right? And now all of a sudden it took this sort of shit where we're all locked in our own houses, and
that's what we used to. That's what we do as people.
No, but it took this
exactly
to be realised. And you know what? The businesses that thought of it or implemented it 5 years ago or 10 years ago are already godzillionaires, right? That's why, you read the stories about people working at Google sitting on Swiss balls and having fucking just nothing but fun rooms and all that shit. They've all been doing it for years and they're all godzillionaires, right? And now all of a sudden we all get a spicy cough and a bit of a sniffle and we go, oh shit, maybe it was a good idea to treat people better. That's the adapt or die bit. If you haven't pulled that out of 2021, you're going to go nowhere because there's no better example of it.
I still think there's a lot of people out there on the fence, though, going through those last 2 years on the fence, on the cusp, going, I really feel like a career change, but still not having
might not even be a career change, mate. But then this might be controversial.
Whatever
if you're working,
it
might be the same industry. If you're working for someone, right? If you're working for someone who is still running it in a fashion that is 1980s, then you need to understand that there are options out there for you.
What I was getting at is those people need to understand that they don't have forever. They need to make the decision because 1 year rolls into 2, rolls into 5, rolls into 10, and before you know it, it's ready for retirement and you'll die with regret. Those people need to make the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to go and try. What if? What if I do? What if I don't? But what if? What could happen?
Yeah. And I think
a lot of people will put that down to loyalty. They go, oh, I'm going to stay loyal. I'm a loyal person. I'm a loyal person. Loyalty is great, but if you're getting treated like shit and it's to the detriment of your own family and everything else, then sometimes you need to have a look at what's going on.
I think I believe in loyalty, but I think loyalty is also a two-way
street, mate.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Loyalty is not just about the employee giving 100% to his leader. It's also about the leader giving 100% to his employee first. And in that many way, I come from the school where leaders eat last. Everyone in your team do well first, you're last. You know, and hence, for example, the way that Cam and I we work, we don't get paid. We last. Whatever is left, that then we can look at. Otherwise, what we would do is we would bleed the business. It pays me so well, it pays Cam so well, and then we start making erratic decisions. We start to take advantage of our staff, and I think that's where people go wrong. We have to. I believe that these kind of theories are going to come out because people are not stupid anymore, and they are actually now saying, hold on. How can I work for a company and I give everything I have and then they fire me because COVID just hit? How do you do that? How do you explain that to someone? Plus, I think there's a full generation now who's actually born during COVID. There are babies now who actually will only have photos with them with a mask when they're in public, I meant. And so they are in 20 years we're going to have the most conscious kind of clean society we'll ever experience. So we were smart. This is when we should start a company. I believe we need to start a diaper company that has mask on it so that we're ready for in 20 years business, guys. Otherwise, we're going to miss that boat.
I was just going to quickly say, I had a lady the other day say to me, I said hello to a little baby, like a little 1-year-old. And I said, oh, how beautiful. Look how cute you are. Blah, blah. And she went, oh, no, she was born during COVID. She hasn't been around people yet. You're scaring her. And I'm like, what? I couldn't even, my brain could not comprehend that. And I'm like, I
interviewed
COVID babies?
One of my takeaways from 2021 that I didn't mention because I thought we were being depressing enough, but I don't think we're going to feel the ramifications of the amount of schooling the kids have left, or exactly what Lou just mentioned, the social interaction of people who are just starting out their their life. I don't feel we're going to feel those ramifications for a generation, so 10 years to come. And the education side has been a touchy subject for us recently, and I'm for the first time ever, I'm taking it probably seriously, because all I ever wanted was my kids to be able to read, write, and count. Right? If you can read, write, and count, you can conquer this world. But they've just lost 2 years of learning how to read, write, and count. Right? So I'm going, fuck, what do we do? And then like running into a baby who hasn't seen a person before. Like, when does that start to affect us moving forward?
20 years.
Hey?
20 years.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing, right? And so you imagine these kids now, they don't see too many people, when we know the importance of kids having interaction. Personally, they're going to have to start developing a social behavior that is probably less than average. Yeah. So in 20 years, with the social media now that is actually showing them virtual interaction, we might be going towards a generation that actually gives no shit about their parents, because that social interaction is less. And so in the end, the parents of today might actually suffer when that kid turns 20 in 20 years, because now it's different. Mom, Dad, I can see you. Actually, let's have dinner, Mom and Dad, tonight. Oh yeah, I've got 2 iPads, and I see Dad on this iPad, and I see Mom, and we can talk to each other. These are some of the things of the future, created by the way we behave today.
Yeah, we're already seeing that
today. If you have a wife who's pregnant, she goes to hospital by herself.
Yeah.
Husband is not even allowed.
That's something you mentioned on steroids a lot. I think that's just something that's going to be amplified, because we've already been heading that way. The inability of kids to interact socially now, the inability of kids to handle anger, the inability of kids to deal with problems in a way that's going to further their life. Hey?
I think a lot of that had already started because
that's what I mean. It had already started, but this last 2 years, and we had an incident close to me recently where a 13-year-old kid stabbed another 13-year-old kid to death because they'd prearranged a fight, but one kid turned up with 8 mates and the other kid was on his own, and he only had one incident. He only had one place he could go in his head. And that's not even a symptom. That's a result of where society's at the moment. But that is only going to be magnified now by the lack of social interaction and the lack of, fucking God help us in that respect.
That's it. The fear.
Well, to lift the mood a little bit. We spoke before about predictions for 2022, right? But what about people that have had aspirations or goals or dreams moving into this year? What advice have you guys got to help them sort of to achieve those, to maybe get their goals apart from coming work for us? I mean, how can we help them? What advice have we got? Because so many people at the beginning of the year, they set goals, or they set, I believe, Cam, you're a gym owner. At the beginning of the year, you get the most memberships, and then within 4 weeks, the gym's empty or something or other, right?
Yeah, the gyms love. The only people on the planet who love a New Year's resolution are the gyms, right? Because they bank their dollars on people not turning up. Costs a lot to maintain a treadmill, right? A treadmill in a gym costs $40,000. So to maintain it, if people are actually running on it, huge problem.
And then they see Cam and they go, that doesn't work.
No, we had a barbecue at the we had a barbecue just after New Year's just before we come back to work, and one of our friends said, so what are your New Year's resolutions? And in true Cam fashion, I'd had a few beers. I said, I don't fucking have any, and if you're stupid if you do, which I don't fully believe. But they said, why is that? And I said, well, because if you got something so important to change in your life, why didn't you start it yesterday or a month ago, or the minute you thought it was something you want to change? People know that smoking's going to kill them, so they go, first day of January, I'm quitting smoking, but I'm going to put as many fucking gaspers in my lungs as I can. leading up into January, right? So
It's,
I went off.
people use it as a crutch, like that. Like it's an
Yeah, but New Year's, if you got a New Year's resolution, it means you've got something that you wanted to change in your life for a long, long time, and there's no date that should start that.
You're 100% right, Cam, you know, and I was a very, very big smoker. It's so many years, New Year's, no smoking, mate. 2nd of January, I was smoking again.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was, I think, mid-August one year that I quit smoking at the end, when I finally did it.
Because you won't stop until the pain, the advice.
Right.
You asked what the advice is, right? I don't know what the end result is. I think the end result is being a better person, but I've only set myself a couple of things, and they're process-based things, not goal-based things. I want to be a better person. So and it started 2.5 weeks before Christmas. I stopped. I said, I'm not yelling at the kids anymore. All right. And that was, try doing that when
right
you
after
locked.
the conference.
Hey?
That was right after conference where
I think I'd started that before.
for the same ticket as everybody else, you got my full attention.
You fucking hell.
So what?
Yeah.
So you're
for the same ticket, right? How many bottles of wine was that? Anyway.
That was very cheap still, mate.
Yeah, it was cheap wine.
Do you know?
Hang on. I was making a serious point.
No, but now you know what it feels like interrupting others. So many other people just paid for a normal ticket, right? And never got that attention. Actually, some of them were very jealous because they went, I can't believe he's using this entire seminar on just changing his mate.
Yeah, good. So anyway, I've had two things, which is not swearing at the kids and swearing less. And there's no end goal in sight except from being a better person. But I know those two small things, maybe I can handle it. I've done other things where I'm like, I'm going to journal every day. I haven't journaled every day. I've missed a couple, right? So I've already failed. But I know the process at the end is going to be there. So if you're asking for advice, my advice would be don't set fucking massive expectations every year that you probably already in your head go, you're not going to get.
Yeah.
Right. But pick the small things that may result in that.
Yes.
And if you can do that, happy days, right? I said to my kids today, it is not fair what you're doing to me because you know I'm not going to yell at you, but if you leave the door open one more time, I'll probably strangle you, right? No, I didn't say that to you. Okay. I didn't. It's not fair to bar yourself from yelling at your kids while you're in lockdown. That's all I'm going to say. But
well, my advice. Okay, so my advice is
I'm a better person because of it. But I didn't start at New Year's. That was the point.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So similar to what Cam's saying is just. Don't look at the whole staircase, okay? Just look at the next step. Just take the next step. You don't need to see the whole thing. One thing I've learned is just do the next best right thing. Don't do just the next thing because it's easy, free, whatever. Just do the next best right thing, okay? The other thing, I suppose, is you can't live the same life every year and call it a life. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Okay. So don't start the year and say, I'm going to be the best, or I'm going to change this and I'm going to do that, but then continue to be the same person that you were last year and the 10 and the 20 before that. You know, make commitments, but make them public commitments and let yourself be accountable to others and let them hold you accountable, because then you're giving them also, I don't know, inspiration or the opportunity to go, you know what, well, I want to do this. Can you help me keep myself accountable to that? And I think that's the thing, you know, be proactive.
Open to help. Ask maybe for mentors.
Be open to help, but also be open to help others. And you know, I was listening to something recently, and it was something, and it's a very short description that I can give you, but sometimes, you know, when you might be right in the middle of something and your phone will ring and you'll look down and you'll see who it is and you'll go, oh, I can't do that right now. I'll call them back. But you know what? That person probably needed you the most right then and right there in their time or in their life. So that's an opportunity where you had to make someone's life better and you passed it up, or you
Yeah.
could have helped them, or you could have saved a situation, or you could have changed a situation. Don't pass those times up. That's a thing that I've learned. Like, be there
Yeah, right.
moment, you know.
The big ones I sort of wanted to give were very similar to what you both said, actually. The little things count. The little actions day in, day out. If you don't do them, they accumulate to a lot. Then it's a conversation Thomas had with me recently, that those little actions every day.
Somebody's ringing me.
It's your chance to help me.
You're gold, Cam. You are gold. That's so good.
You just pass up an opportunity.
And she doesn't care a rat's ass about your brother.
There's no way we can do anything serious on this channel. There's no seriousness on this channel in 2022, that's for sure. All right. But you know, who cares? We just having fun, and this is a bit. I want to leave you guys. Maybe actually, I will leave the last word for Cam. But I want to tell you something. Last week I was with Robert Spitaleri, a mate of mine, and one of the top values in my life now has been health, and we know, and I've spoken about it many times. And I know that over the last few weeks I've done my bicycle ride every single day. I'm doing 30 minutes. It doesn't work, but Jesus, that Robert gave me in a 5-minute explanation something that's going to last probably for the rest of my life. And he said to me, you know what, Thomas, here it is. And this dude, and it's a funny thing, it was quite often we only listen to people because they are a certain level. So this dude now has gone three dan, his third dan Kung Fu black belt, right? So a lot of training into the guy. And he said, Thomas, here's one thing I probably would like you to be doing. Every single day, just do 10 push-up. Then follow, and if you want to stop, you stop. And then he told me about how to breathe, when to breathe and when to breathe out, because I used to do push-up breathing it wrong. Like I used to breathe in as I come down to the carpet, but then suddenly I've got all those germs in my nostrils. And you know, and he's telling me exactly how to do it. And then he said, just do 10 burpees. Then just do 10 sit-up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then 10 squat, and then 10 position where you just stand on your toes. Then he showed me, he said, if you did all of those 5 10s, have a look at the muscles that you're working everywhere in your body. And so I'm thinking, do you know what? If he's speaking about this and he's got that kind of thing, I'll do it. The first 2 days of doing just those 2 things, those 5 things, it was almost impossible. I had to stop after 3 push-ups. I had to stop after 6, sit-up.
Yep.
But now it's been, 6, 7 days? I can do all of that in one go. Beside the burpees, I can't do more than 6 burpees. I have to stop. It's like, but I'm liking this now. And so what we did with him was that every single day that I've done my 50, so 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, I would text him and say, done. And what he's trying to do with me now is we're doing 10 this week. Next week, we're doing the whole lot, but now this time twice. And so what I'm trying to say, and he wants to get me to 5 times. And I said, no, I'll stop at 3. I like number 3. And what I'm trying to say is, if you want to improve, don't do 50 in one go. Just do 10 of a little thing. Just try to improve 1% in every bit of your life, not 100% in one bit. That was the lesson I got out of Robert.
Yeah.
I just got a lesson that you only listen to people with the same haircut as you, because I've been telling you the same thing for a month.
No, but you didn't give me that stuff. And when I looked at you, I'm going, no, he doesn't apply.
No, I gave you the theory. I didn't show you the practice. Adaptation was the word. Remember, your body's adapted. Remember, I gave you the whole. But anyway.
I'm doing it now, man. So you'd be very proud of me.
I'm happy for you, mate. And you watch. You know what? it's going to prove me and Robert right, because you watch what changes, and then when you get back on the bike, it'll have the same effect because your
No,
body
I'm
is.
still doing the bike. I'm still doing the bike. So I do it now 30 minutes on the bike, and I'm doing all those 5 things that he's asking.
Don't listen to anything I say, but if you stop the bike for a week and then get back on it, your body will be shocked and the bike will
No,
work
but
for
I
you
told
too.
you already. I told you already. I can't. Do you know how long it's taken me to just sit on that bike for 30 minutes? My bum feels like whatever it is, but it feels very different. And so if I'm gonna get off,
Looks a lot
the
like your
bike,
face.
This
Now I
is,
draw a line down your head so it
and-
looks like a butt.
and this is the thing, you know. Ken loves to teach his children about non-violence, but all he does when he opens his mouth is all about violence, isn't
There's
it?
no violence, mate.
Well, I don't know. Ask Lou and ask Chris. But this.
I love Lou's haircut. It cost her a fortune. I think she's done well.
There is very condescending, but anyway, it's all good.
All right.
And the
All
beach
right, big
ball that
man,
Chris.
you can close today.
I don't need to close. I think I'm the worst person to give the last word, because it's, if 2022 isn't about you, then you've already lost. If 2022 is about looking for someone else to help you, then you've already lost. And if 2022 is not taking care of your own shit, then you've lost. So make the steps and move on.
Yeah.
All right. I know that's not very eloquent. I know it's not very articulate. But if 2021 and 2020 haven't taught you that there's no one out there to help you, then nothing will.
All right, that's maybe I'll close it then, because I think it's too negative to close. Actually,
Can I give this a try?
So now I'm sorry.
Can I give this a try?
You go for it.
You go for it, brother.
Coming from the 2020 and 2021, I think there was a lot of, we spoke about it before, greed that's come out. And I think there's a lot of cynicism that's come out in the community as well. With the greed, I can only say this. If everyone tries to start their day with just 3 things they're grateful for, just 3 every day. Entitlement and gratitude can't live in the same heart. So if you start your day just with 3 things, and they can be small things like we spoke about, just start your day with those 3 things. I'm telling you, your year's got to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. Beautiful closing. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Lou, and thank you very much whatsoever. And we talk to you guys soon. See you guys. Bye.